Hello everyone, welcome to NTA NET GRF. In this video, we will be resuming where we left last time. Okay, so let's start this video. So the question is saying that the cost of holding money by individual. Okay, so what is the cost of holding money by individual? So there are four options given here. The first is loss of real value of money due to deflation. Second is foregone interest from savings. Third is utility foregone by not buying goods and services. And fourth is returns foregone by not holding other assets. Right? So these are the four options. We have to find out which of the three, okay, which of the three is correct in this case. Okay, the four options are here. Let's find this out by looking at this terminology, and we'll understand what is what is the cost of holding money. Okay, so the idea is, what is the idea? The idea is the cost of holding money is what an individual forgoes. Okay, the income that he's foregoing that could be earned on an interest bearing asset. So this is called the opportunity cost, right? So the opportunity cost is the next best alternative. It's very important. Opportunity cost is next best alternative. So we know that when a person is holding money, so when he's holding the money, he's foregoing the rate of interest which he could earn by bearing an asset like security or some kind of asset. Okay, so he's not getting that because he's holding the money and not using the money, right? And also there is a utility which is foregone from not buying goods and services. Okay, when the person is holding money, that means he's saving the money and he's not using the money for buying goods and services. That means there is a utility which is being foregone. So basically the cost of holding money is the summation of the foregone income that could be earned on an interest bearing asset, and secondly the utility foregone from not buying goods and services. So this summation of this 1 plus 2 is basically the cost of holding money. Fine. Also, one more thing to note here is that the nominal rate of interest. The nominal rate of interest determines this opportunity cost of the opportunity cost of holding money, right? So it is the nominal rate of interest, not the real rate of interest. Okay, the real rate of interest is basically the nominal rate of interest minus the expected inflation rate. So what is saying here is that we are not taking into account this expected inflation in case of opportunity cost of holding money. Okay, so this is not taking into account. So we are using the nominal rate of interest for understanding the opportunity cost or the cost of holding money. Okay, fine. Now the question arises is that why is the opportunity cost of holding money the nominal rate of interest and not the real rate of interest? So we can answer it by looking at some very important points. Okay, now let's understand this. Suppose an individual chooses to hold $100 in the form of money. He or she is giving up the opportunity to hold $100 of bonds. Okay, so he or she is giving up or foregoing this $100 of bonds by holding it in the form of money. So we know that this $100 of bonds would pay a certain nominal interest rate, right? So this nominal interest rate provides both some additional purchasing power at the end of loan period as well as compensate for inflation, right? So this nominal interest rate provides some additional purchasing power and it compensates for the inflation level. Okay. Now we can relate this thing with quantity theory of money as given by Fisher and also Marshall, and also expanded by Keynes and others. Okay, Marshall and Keynes and others. So there were many economists who expanded this theory of quantitative theory of money. It's very important in macroeconomics. Now the main equation is that MV is equal to PY. Okay, so here M is the quantity of money, right? P is the price level. M is the quantity of money, P is the price level, Y is the total output, and V is the velocity of money. That is how much money is being circulated. So this idea is very important, and there are certain assumptions which you will have to understand. You'll have to go through to understand this theory, the quantitative theory of money. So there are some assumptions. So the assumptions are like that this V thing is constant, the velocity is constant, and the money has no effect on real variables like real wage rate and some and others, and this Y is completely determined by the fixed stock of labor, capital, and technology. So this kind of things are there. So the thing is, while we're talking about this holding money of money, holding the money, the cost of holding money, and while we're looking at that, we can see that when we are dividing this equation by y, we are seeing that the p equals to mv by y. So the idea is that the quantitative theory of money tells that the v, that is the velocity of money, is stable over time. Okay, or it is at least independent of changes in money supply. So this is very important. It is very important. Okay, so the idea is what we are looking for is we are looking at the cost of holding money. So that is the income foregone by an individual which could be earned on an interest bearing asset, and secondly the utility foregone from not buying goods and services. Now let's get back to the question and try to understand which of the options were in fact correct. So in this option we see that foregone interest from savings, yes, that is correct, because when a person is holding the money, he's not using the money in bank, he's not keeping it bank, and he's not getting any kind of interest. Also we have talked about the utility foregone from not buying goods and services, and also the returns that could be earned, so it is being foregone by that individual. So basically the answer is BCD, right? So number one is the answer. Okay, now let's look at a different question. So this question is saying that market failure is caused by or caused to the presence of which of the following? The first is poverty, second is externality, third is market power, and fourth is private goods. So you have to find out which of the following is actually creating market failure. Okay, so we know that what is market failure. We know that market failure is occurring when there is a misallocation or inefficient allocation of resources. So it happens when there is a free economy, and in that there is inefficient allocation of resources. So the allocation of resources can be termed as efficient when under the perfectly competitive market, right? So when there is a perfectly competitive market, the allocations are efficient because the price is equal to the marginal cost of production. So P equals to MC. So that's the condition of perfect competition. So in that case, there is efficiency, right? There is efficiency. However, we see that when this condition is not fulfilled, then there is an inefficient allocation of resources. Okay, fine. So the idea is the question is asking for what were the reasons for the market failure. So we know from our textbook that first is imperfect competition, that is when there is when there is no perfect competition or there is imperfect competition, such as the presence of monopoly, the presence of oligopoly, and some other forms of market, it creates market failure because there is misallocation of resources as P is not equal to marginal cost of production. Okay, because of this reason, market failure occurs. Secondly, we see that due to the presence of public goods, there is market failure as for public goods, pricing do not occur. So there is no market for public goods. Okay, so pricing doesn't occur. Fine. So the third reason for market failure is the presence of external cost, or what we call it as externality. So this term is very important. We will discuss it in some other video. So the externality is basically when the consumption or production choices of a person or a firm enters the utility or production function of another person or another firm without the permission of the latter. So this is the broad definition. However, we can think of it as, suppose there is a farm A, suppose there is a farm B. So without the permission of farm B, A is imposing some cost. Okay, so this will be called negative externality. Now, suppose there are two farms, similarly A and B. Now, A is providing some benefit to B, some benefit to B, but B is not giving money for that. So B is getting the benefit without its incurring any cost. So this will be called positive externality. Okay, positive externality. Fine. So this is the idea. So this, because of this reason also, there is market failure. Finally, there is imperfect information, right? So the information, when we know that when there is no perfect competition, there will be imperfect information. Imperfect information. So the buyers will not get any idea about the seller point of view, and the seller will not get any idea about buyer's point of view. And because this asymmetric type of information, there will be market failure. So these are the four reasons for market failure, and let's find out which among these are given in the question, and we will solve that accordingly. First one is, we know there is externality. For obvious reasons, the externality will cause market failure, right? Again, we know that when there is market power or when there is no perfect competition, it will create market failure. So we know that the answer will be B and C. So here both of these options are same, so either 2 or 4 or both of these are correct. Okay, so this will be the answer. Now let's look at a different question. So it's a very straightforward question. So it says that there is a quotation, that is, the best system of taxation from the economic point of view is that which has the best or the least bad economic effects. So we have to know, we have to tell who has given this quote. Okay, so there is four options: Musgrave, Marshall, Hugh Dalton, and Pigot. Okay, and the answer is Dalton.